What's up YouTube? My name is Dan, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of the audio system that I have installed in my car. It is a 2011 Volkswagen GTI, and I'm going to be going over each component that I installed, some of the difficulties that I had, and most importantly some of the mistakes that I made so that you guys don't make the same mistakes. Now this isn't going to be a install video because everything is already installed. Actually, it's been installed for about 2 years. But somebody commented on my last video asking about it, so I'm making a video just kind of going over everything in general. Now, at the heart of it all is this. It's an Alpine ILX W650. I'm a huge fan of this head unit for two reasons. The main reason, obviously, is going to be the interface. It's very responsive, super easy to use. It has CarPlay. It has a capacitive touchscreen. Rather than a resistive touchscreen, so it's just more responsive. It has multi-touch, so you can pinch and zoom on when you're using Apple Maps and stuff like that. The screen just overall looks really nice. Interface again is super easy to use, very easy to get to any controls or settings that you need to change. And the second reason that I love it so much is because this unit is only about 2 to 3 inches thick. I forget exactly how thin it is. I'm going to put it on the screen right here, but it's super thin, and that is very important when you're installing a head unit, because with all that extra space behind this unit, you can shove all your wires behind it. You don't have to worry nearly as much about cable management. Now I should note that cable management is very important. Don't just jumble all your cables together behind here, which I may or may not have done, but just in general, it's nice to have extra space back there so that you don't have to worry too much about it being absolutely perfect. Now moving on, the front components are JL Audio C1 650s. I'm obviously not going to be able to show you the actual speakers because they are inside the door, but on the screen you'll see on Crutchfield what they look like. And then in the rear I used Hertz K130 components. And then paired to the components, I have a Rockford Fosgate P1 S410 subwoofer. Now, all the speakers listed have a resistance of 4 ohms, and all the components are each split between a woofer and a tweeter. And then powering all of those speakers is a Soundstream Picasso Nano amplifier. You can't see it that well, but I did want to show you where it is located in the car. It actually fits under the front driver's seat. And as you can see, cable management is not my strong suit. Now, I'm actually going to get more into that amp later on. It's not the best amp, and I actually wouldn't recommend it. I was on a tight budget, and that's why I got it, because it's really inexpensive compared to other amplifiers that are out there. But basically I got it because it's a 5-channel amplifier, so it powers all of my components and the subwoofer all in one. So I liked that it was just an all-in-one unit. I didn't have to get 2 separate amplifiers. And again, it was inexpensive. However, the first one that I got was actually defective and I had to send it back. The second one that I got worked, but when it's hot out, I don't know what it is, but it interferes with the engine noise, and I get these really weird noises coming out of the speakers. And when I step on the gas, it actually gets louder because the engine is spinning faster. So now that could be user error, it could be me having a faulty setup, but it only happens sometimes, so that's what is leading me to believe that it's an amp issue and not my issue. Now, another thing that I purchased that isn't necessarily part of the audio system is this. As you can see there, it's a backup camera, and it is built into the Volkswagen symbol. And the reason I'm talking about it is because even though it's not part of the audio system, it's connected to the head unit, and you're highly likely to install a backup camera if you don't already have one. If you're doing all the work to install the speakers and the head unit and all of that, you may as well get a backup camera to go with it. Now you can get a cheap one for like, $30-40 bucks. I spent about, I want to say it was 120 in that vicinity. The camera quality actually sucks on this camera. The reason that I'm keeping it is obviously because it is in the Volkswagen symbol and you don't see it until it pops out. Now, personally, I don't rely on the backup camera, so I really don't mind the bad camera quality. If you're somebody who does, I would highly recommend getting something, actually, believe it or not, cheaper, just a regular, ordinary backup camera, because you're going to be able to see a lot better at night. Mine you basically can't see anything at night and you just have to use your mirrors. And the last thing that I wanted to go over is actually this guy. It is a USB pass-through that goes down under the dash into the back of this head unit. And it's really nice because obviously you can plug any cable you want into it, and it just makes it look a lot more finished. And that totally covers all of the main components of the audio system. There are two quick things I wanted to say. The first is that I do wish that the Alpine unit had a volume knob. I was debating between getting the one that I have, and I believe it was a Sony. I don't know the model, but it's a Sony head unit that has a volume knob. I ended up choosing this one just because I wanted a bigger screen. I'm happy with it, but the buttons do get a little bit annoying. I'm used to it. Most people that get in my car and they want to change the volume, they don't know how to do it, and I have to tell them, oh, it's buttons. So that can be a little weird. And the other thing is that the subwoofer box that I have in my car, as you can see, is custom fitted to my trunk. I ordered that off of eBay 2 years ago, and I have not been able to find it since. So I don't know if it's being made anymore, so I don't know if you can find that specifically. So you may have to just deal with one of those regular old subwoofer boxes, or if you want to build your own, you can. Quickly, I want to go over some of the tools that you might need, or that might be really helpful at least. The first is going to be kind of obvious, a power drill or some sort of electric screwdriver. It'll save you so much time if you have something that's powered versus just a regular, ordinary screwdriver. And the second are going to be trim pry tools. These are super helpful, and for certain things necessary. They're really not expensive at all, and they're so helpful. You should really pick a setup before you start doing anything to your car. I know that I actually wasn't using trim tools when I first started to try and take apart my dash, and I actually broke the piece of trim that goes around the head unit. That cost me, I want to say it was like 40 or 50 bucks for just a piece of plastic. Save yourself the time and money by just buying the tools up front, because they're definitely going to come in handy. Another tip is that for your RCA connections, in my opinion, I would connect everything, make sure it all works, and then I would actually heat shrink them. This is going to be a semi-permanent thing, so make sure that you're not planning to change things soon. The RCAs have disconnected a couple of times in the last couple of years of having my custom audio system, and that has been super annoying. Just, randomly a speaker cuts out and just stops playing music, and then I have to go in and take apart the dash again, re-plug it back in. I've used electrical tape to try and tape them together, but it actually doesn't hold too well. So do yourself a favor, get some heat shrink those connections once you know that they're correct, and just save yourself a headache. Another thing that's super important that you've probably heard by now if you're watching other videos on custom audio systems for your car is going to be, don't run your audio cables alongside the power cable that goes to your car amplifier. Doing that is going to cause a lot of interference and can cause some really bad noises in your sound. I actually initially did that, and I didn't think it was a big deal, and there was weird buzzing and hissing, and it wasn't good. So I separated them, and it was a lot better. I still have that weird sound issue sometimes because of the cheap amplifier that I got, but that's a separate issue. The next tip that I want to share actually has to do with the location of my amplifier. As I showed you before, it is currently under the front seat of my car. Although it works fine where it is, I wish that I had actually installed the amplifier in the back of the car where the spare tire is, because it really is a mess down there, as you saw with all those cables. And I did try, believe it or not, even though it looks awful, I did try to organize those cables, but there's just so much going on in such a small space that it was really difficult. And the thing is that amplifier is, in the name, Picasso Nano, it's supposed to be a really small amplifier to fit into small spaces. However, in the future, if I were to do this again, or if I could go back and redo it, I would get a much better amplifier that is a bit larger, and I would just put it in the back. I would do the extra work of running the cables all the way to the back of the car just to save myself the headache. And the very last thing that I want to say is I highly suggest buying all of your major components for your audio system from Crutchfield. Crutchfield was super helpful when I was doing the sound system in my car. This is not an ad for Crutchfield. I don't have nearly enough of a following on YouTube to get paid for an advertisement. They are just super helpful, and I highly recommend getting everything through them. I initially bought my amplifier from Amazon, and it was bad, and I had to return it. I actually called Crutchfield for help, and they talked on the phone with me for a good 15 to 20 minutes to diagnose it and tell me that my amplifier that I bought from somebody else was a bad amplifier. So even though I didn't even buy from them, I mean, I did buy my other components from them, but they didn't know that when I called them. Like, I just called them because I was having trouble, and they helped me even though I hadn't purchased that certain item from them. Even if their prices aren't the best, they might price match, I'm not too sure, but even if I do have to spend an extra couple of bucks here and there to buy from them, I always will, just because of that experience. And when you're doing something yourself like this, it is so helpful to have a resource like that at your disposal. So that just about covers it. Let me know if you have any questions, anything else you want to know about my system. I apologize that this wasn't an actual install video, but I hope that this helped at least a little bit. I'm going to link all of the parts, at least the ones that I have access to, down below in the description so that you can see exactly what I have in my car. Obviously, like I said before, the subwoofer box is not going to be down there because I just can't find it anywhere, unless I find it between now and the time of editing. If you end up doing this yourself, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.